Wide as a strip of land, no wider than a highway in some places. Bent like a stalk of bamboo along the edge of the sea. Refused to break, no matter who has tried to bend it. For 1,000 years, empires crossed this coastline and left. And still, on every shoreline, in every rice terrace, in every cave carved by water older than memory, one thing remains standing. Welcome to Vietnam. Before there were tour buses, there was only the mountain and the men who dared to cross it. In the far north, where Vietnam narrows into a jagged spine of grey karst, a single road twists through the sky. This is the Ha Giang Loop, roughly 350 kilometers of hairpin turns, carved by hand into the Dong Van Karst Plateau, a UNESCO global geopark, older than the Himalayas themselves. At its most punishing stretch, the road becomes Ma Pi Leng, the pass that even horses fear to climb. Below, the Nho Quay River cuts a canyon nearly a kilometer deep. Its water is the color of jade glass, so still from above, it looks solid enough to walk on. There is a brutal poetry to this place. The Hmong and Lo communities who farm these slopes plant corn in soil that barely exists, pockets of earth wedged between stone, carried up by hand, basket by basket, generation after generation. Where the land refuses to give, the people simply refuse to leave. Riders who complete the full loop describe it less as a road trip and more as a negotiation with gravity. Every switchback is a small victory. Every summit is paid for in advance. Ma Pi Leng does not reward the cautious. It rewards the relentless. Descend from the high passes, and the mountains soften into something almost impossible. Staircases of water and light climbing the hillsides like the fingerprints of a giant, exactly as travelers have described for over a century. Sapa sits at nearly 1,600 meters, perpetually wrapped in a cool mist that the French colonists mistook for European air and built villas to match. But the terraces beneath the mist belong to no empire. They belong to the Hmong, Dao, and Jai communities who reshaped an entire mountain range by hand, without machinery, without blueprints, only generations of trial, memory, and water finding its level. In April, the fields flood and mirror the sky, turning the valley into scattered fragments of silver. By September, the silver turns to gold, and the entire mountainside seems to hold its breath before the harvest. This is not scenery. This is architecture built from patience, proof that a mountain can be persuaded if you are willing to ask it slowly enough. Above the terraces looms the reason Sapa exists at all. Fansipan, at 3,143 meters. The highest peak in Indochina. For decades, reaching the summit meant 3 brutal days on foot, through leech-thick jungle, across exposed ridgelines, sleeping in the cold, with only a tarp between climbers and the wind. It was a pilgrimage reserved for the stubborn. Today, a cable car, the longest 3-rope system on Earth, lifts visitors above the clouds in 15 minutes. Some call this a loss of meaning. Others call it democracy. The mountain, once reserved for the extreme, now open to the grandmother, the child, the traveler with only one free afternoon. Either way, the summit itself has not changed. The wind at the top still cuts through every layer of clothing. The silence still swallows conversation. Fansipan remains what it has always been, the point where Vietnam runs out of up. Where the mountains finally surrender to the sea. They do not vanish. They simply change form. Ha Long Bay holds nearly 1,600 limestone islands and islets, rising directly out of emerald water with no beach. No shoreline transition, just vertical stone erupting from the Gulf of Tonkin, as though the ocean floor itself decided to stand up. The name means descending dragon, and local legend insists these islands are not geology at all, but the spat-out jewels of a mother dragon who plunged into the sea to protect the young nation from invaders, her body breaking the coastline into 1,000 fragments of protection. Whatever the origin, the effect on invading fleets throughout history was the same: confusion. Foreign ships that entered the bay found no straight path forward, only a stone maze of blind channels and sudden dead ends, a natural fortress requiring no walls because the wall built itself. Today, the same channels carry wooden junk boats instead of warships, gliding between towers of rock that fishing families have navigated from memory for generations, the way you might know the furniture in a dark room. Just south of Ha Long, quietly overshadowed by its famous neighbor, lies a version of the same magic with far fewer witnesses, Lan Ha Bay, wrapped around Cat Ba Island. Here, the karst towers are just as dramatic, but the water runs even calmer. Sheltered by the island's bulk from the open sea, hidden lagoons open only at low tide, accessible for a few precious hours before the water reclaims the passage. Cat Ba itself holds something Ha Long does not: a national park thick with primary rainforest, home to the Cat Ba langur, one of the rarest primates alive. Fewer than 80 individuals remain anywhere on Earth, found nowhere else in the world. This is Vietnam's quiet paradox once more. Extraordinary rarity, sitting in plain sight, one bay over from the crowds. Inland, where the karst mountains retreat from the coast, they reassemble themselves around slow rivers instead of ocean. And the result is a landscape so layered, it feels assembled by hand. Trang An threads narrow sampan boats through cave tunnels, barely tall enough to clear a passenger's head. The boatwoman rows with her feet, in a technique passed down through families for generations, freeing her hands for nothing at all, because in these caves, silence is the only cargo worth carrying. During dynastic times, this maze of water and stone served a very real purpose: retreat. When invading armies threatened the old capital, the royal court didn't need walls. They had a landscape that swallowed armies whole, one blind channel at a time. Nearby, Tam Kok offers the same river-through limestone experience on a gentler scale, framed by rice paddies that shift color with the season, green in spring, gold by early summer, and briefly, for just a few weeks, a startling otherworldly red. Above Tam Kok, 486 uneven stone steps climb straight up the cliff face to Hang Mua, the dancing cave, named for royal performances once held in its shallow mouth. Shadows of dancers flickering against the rock, like a memory that refused to fade. The climb is unglamorous and unforgiving. No handrails soften the exposure, but at the top, the reward reframes everything below. The No Dong River bending through the valley like a green ribbon dropped from above, tiny boats drifting across it like leaves on still water. It is a strange kind of summit, not the tallest, not the hardest, but perhaps the most honest. 600 steps to remind you that in Vietnam, even the smaller mountains ask for something in return. A A capital that has survived 1,000 years does not announce itself. It simply keeps going. Hanoi's old quarter is arranged even today by an ancient guild system, 36 streets, each once dedicated to a single trade. Hang Bak for silver, Hang Gai for silk, Hang Ma for paper offerings. The street names have outlived the guilds themselves. Fossils of commerce still spoken aloud on every map. And every taxi ride. Motorbikes fill the streets by midday. But at dawn, the city belongs to older rhythms. Elders performing slow Tai Chi around Hoan Kim Lake. Vendors balancing bamboo poles heavy with faux broth. The low murmur of a city waking up the same way it has for a millennium. French colonial villas stand beside single-meter-wide tube houses, a design born from a tax once levied on street frontage, proof that even the city's architecture is a record of resistance, quietly built to outsmart every rule imposed on it. Nothing here has been erased. It has only been layered one century stacked carefully on top of the last. If Ha Long Bay is Vietnam's stone rising into the sky, Phong Nha is its stone descending into the dark. Beneath the Phong Nha Kabang National Park lies one of the oldest caste systems in Asia, over 400 million years in the making, and inside it, the largest cave passage on Earth. Son Buong is so immense that a Boeing 747 could fly through parts of it uninterrupted. Its own weather system forms clouds inside the cave. Sections of jungle grow on the floor of dolines, where the ceiling has long since collapsed. Sunlight pouring in on a forest that has never touched open sky. Discovered by a local farmer in 1990. While sheltering from a storm, the cave was lost again for nearly 2 decades before he could relocate the entrance himself. It is a fitting origin story for Vietnam, a wonder found not by empire or expedition, but by an ordinary person simply trying to survive the weather. Only a few hundred people are permitted to enter each year. Son Duong, unlike almost anywhere else in the country, has chosen to remain nearly untouched. Where Hanoi wears its history in its street names, Hue wears it in stone and silence. For 143 years, Hue was the seat of the Nguyen dynasty, Vietnam's final imperial house, and the perfume river still moves through the city the way it always has, unhurried, indifferent to the centuries. The imperial city was modeled after Beijing's Forbidden City. Its own citadel of red lacquered gates and yellow-tiled roofs, though war left much of it in ruins. What survives feels less like a monument, and more like a wound that healed with dignity. Moss softening the broken walls, lotus ponds reflecting gates that once opened only for emperors. Along the riverbanks, the royal tombs are not mourning sites so much as final residences, each one a small kingdom built for the afterlife, chosen and positioned according to principles of harmony with the surrounding hills. Min Mang's tomb is severe and symmetrical. Kai Denning's is strange and ornate, its mosaic interiors almost feverish in color. Hue does not ask to be admired loudly. It asks to be walked through quietly. The way you would walk through a house that still remembers who used to live there. Da Nang is the city that decided. The future was worth building loudly. Its dragon bridge curves across the Han River in the shape of a Li dynasty dragon, a symbol of prosperity stretched into structural steel. On weekend nights, the dragon exhales, fire, then water, turning a piece of infrastructure into a public spectacle. For a city that refuses to separate function from wonder, high above the city, In the Ba Na Hills, two enormous stone hands, weathered, moss-covered, ancient in appearance, though built only in 2018, cradle a golden pedestrian bridge suspended above the forest canopy. It is a strange, almost mythic image, modern engineering, presented as though unearthed from legend. And yet, Da Nang's oldest wonder asks for no spectacle at all. The marble mountains rise from the flat coastal plain in 5 separate peaks, each named for a natural element. Hidden inside are caves where centuries-old Buddhist shrines sit only meters from bullet scars left by 20th century war. Two very different kinds of history, sharing the same rock, neither one erasing the other. Some cities modernize. Hoi An simply stopped, once one of Southeast Asia's great trading ports. Hoi An welcomed Chinese, Japanese, Dutch, and Portuguese merchants for centuries until the Thubone River began silting up, and larger ships could no longer reach its harbor. The town didn't fight the decline. It simply went quiet, and in doing so, preserved itself. What remains is a rare architectural blend. Found nowhere else, the Japanese covered bridge, Chinese assembly halls with dragon-carved rooftops, and merchant houses built in a hybrid Vietnamese style, their mustard yellow walls holding the afternoon light, long after the sun has moved on. At dusk, paper lanterns are lit one by one along the narrow streets, their glow reflecting on the dark water below. Locals still release small lotus-shaped lanterns onto the river, not for visitors, not for spectacle, but for wishes, quietly set adrift the same way they have been for generations. Hoi An's beauty was never designed. It was simply left alone, long enough to become beautiful on its own terms. From the hairpin turns of Ha Giang to the last warm shallows of Phu Quoc, Vietnam never once asks to be conquered. It asks to be understood, one cast tower, one rice terrace, one quiet river at a time. Every empire that came here left eventually. The mountains did not move, the rivers did not stop, the people did not kneel. Vietnam belongs to no one but itself. But once you have walked it, climbed its passes, floated through its caves, watched its lanterns drift downriver, a small, stubborn piece of it will stay with you. Silently, permanently. If this journey moved you, tell us where it took you in the comments. Like this video, subscribe for more, and join us next time, because somewhere else in the world, another land is waiting to be understood.